Hey, what's up, everybody? It is May already. And just last week, I released my blueprint for a life of authentic confidence and action. And I talk a lot about confidence, obviously, but why do I have authenticity thrown in there too? Well, one of the things that can throw off our confidence, as Pastor Davey, who I've mentioned before, he talks about is confidence can be thrown off anytime we're exposed to a trial, transitions, or tragedy. Hopefully, those tragedies in your life are far and few between, but anytime we go through a trial or transition, that can be something that's maybe good. And what our confidence can sometimes waver in is if we go through so many transitions, one step at a time, one small step at a time, but we end up in a place probably over the course of years or maybe even decades where our true self, who we truly are at our core, is so different from where we've ended up. Who we are truly is so different. What lights us up truly and authentically is so far removed from what our day to day is, whether it be our job or how we spend our free time, our hobbies, even things that maybe we do that we think maybe we should like, but aren't bringing us life. So I put together this blueprint. And as you all know by now, I got an engineering background. So blueprint really just fit really well because what's a blueprint? A blueprint is nothing more than a plan of, what you're going to build, what you're going to create. It's getting those thoughts down on paper. One of our old directors of engineering, he used to say, if you can't write it down on paper, you can't do it. If you can't write it down on paper, you can't do it. And a lot of times it's hard to write things down, and it's definitely not going to be perfect the first time. We talked a lot about perfectionism getting in our way. So I put together this blueprint, this plan, this kind of just path for folks to take to start bringing themselves back to who they truly are. And maybe not even bringing them back to who they truly are, maybe figuring that out. Maybe you need to figure out who you truly are. So I put together this resource. It's free. It's available on my website, johnmalora.com/free stuff. And what it is, it's broken up into 6 pillars that we're going to get into in a little bit more detail over the next 6 weeks. But each pillar, it's broken down into 4 separate parts. The first thing we address is misconceptions we have around that pillar, around that topic. And a misconception is just false truths that likely serve us in some way, but they keep us stuck in this vicious cycle of a mediocrity mindset, playing small and insecurity. And the problem with a mediocrity mindset and insecurity is they feed each other. The next thing we do to address these misconceptions is I introduce thought corrections. And these are ways to mindfully dismantle these misconceptions that are probably holding you back. And then after we address these misconceptions and come up with some different thought patterns to address them, then we start getting into authentic action. And these are practical and tactical ways to put these thought corrections, these new ways of thinking into the world that are in alignment with your true self and also for the greater good. Now, obviously, it is going to open up a lot of questions for you. You're going to wonder what's next. What should I do? I got you covered because at the bottom of each page, there's hyperlinks to knowledge expansion sections. These are, articles from WebMD, from maybe some thought leaders that I follow. Every pillar references the Bible because that's where a lot of my truth comes from. But there's something for everyone in this document. So, like I said, I'm going to get into this in detail, each pillar a little bit more in detail every week, because what I want you to do is begin returning to who you were meant to be. I want you to begin returning to who you were meant to be. Because when you start operating in alignment with who you were meant to be, what really lights you up, so many good things open up. So the first thing that we talk about is, and I'm just going to touch on these real quick, and then the next 6 weeks, we're going to break these down in detail. The first pillar we talk about is your head, your heart, and your hurt, right? Your head, your logic, that logical part of your brain, the quote adult part of your brain that does all this thinking for you, and your heart, how you feel, and then also your hurt. Because a lot of times we don't give our hurt enough credit. We don't give our hurt enough credit for what dictates how we operate and how we show up in the world. Second pillar that we talk about is address, don't avoid. Address, don't avoid. Meaning, don't don't be like an ostrich and just stick your head in the sand, right? Don't just shrink back from having maybe those hard conversations. And it's not easy. And there's a lot of misconceptions that swirl around that. So pillar two is we start addressing some of these misconceptions that maybe keep us from addressing things that are not serving us and probably also not serving those people around us either. Third pillar is love yourself to fully serve others. Talk about loving yourself to fully serve others, to kind of get out of that mindset of, I just have to sacrifice, 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 and be miserable, and then end up building resentment towards the people that I'm trying to care about and I'm trying to serve. Fourth pillar, talk about is engage with empathy. How to engage others and also how to engage yourself with empathy, right? Meaning kindness, grace, engage with empathy. Fifth pillar we talk about is starting things when you're scared. Start it scared. Dig into a lot with procrastination, this one, but sometimes we just need, pretty much all the time actually, we need to start it scared. Start when you don't feel quite ready. All right. And then the last pillar that we talk about is taking relentless responsibility. Ooh, right? Taking relentless responsibility for our actions. So I hope you have, click on the link here and go download that free resource. It's just a PDF and start getting into it. There's ways to reach out to me with some comments or questions that you have after going through it. I'm always happy to interact with you one-on-one. So download the free resource, the blueprint for authentic confidence in action, and then stay tuned because over the next 6 weeks, we're going to take each of these pillars and really break it down. We're going to break down the misconceptions, the thought corrections, the authentic action, and then also the knowledge expansion a little bit. Thanks, everybody. Onward and upward.